Kimberly Kayler from AOE, and I'm sitting down today with Kevin McMullen, a dear friend of mine and a longtime member of our industry. We're going to talk a little bit about succession planning. Kevin, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I'm going to give you a little background on Kevin. He has been with the Wisconsin Concrete Pavement Association for 28 years, the last 26 as president, up until actually a couple of weeks ago, which is one of the things that we will talk about. Kevin graduated from University of Wisconsin-Platteville with a degree in civil engineering. And prior to his association work, he worked for the Wisconsin Department of Transportation in the Construction and Materials Office Pavement Engineering section in the office in Madison. He also was the supervisor for all pavement design engineering activities for that department. Kevin currently serves on the steering committee for the Wisconsin Highway Research Program, National Committee on Concrete Pavement Construction of the Transportation Research Board in DC, sits on the strategic board of advisors for the American Concrete Pavement Association and the board of directors for the National Center for Concrete Pavement Technology. So Kevin, quite a great background. I very much appreciate you being here. AOE has a big toehold in the pavement industry, so it's fun to be able to have a discussion with one of our legends. So thank you once again.
Wow, legend.
So we're here to talk about succession planning, and you recently passed the hat, if you will, to your successor just about a month ago, if I believe. So I wanted to find out a little bit about what the process was, as I know that your association was very diligent in terms of how you prepared for the future and for this place. So let you speak now and share what you did.
Well, I think it's kind of interesting because the plan to do this actually started 28 years ago. Back when I started for the association, there was a gentleman by the name of Denny Brush who was running the association. And when they recruited me from the DOT to come work here, he said, hey, the plan is really, I'd like you to come work for us and work for me for a couple of years, and then I'll work for you for a couple of years, and then I can retire. And it was really interesting because it all worked. And Denny was a complete gentleman, and he gave me a lot of latitude. He occasionally, would haul me aside and say, "Is that really what you want to do?" And he was very, very unselfish, very guiding. And I can call him to this day, and we'll talk for 2-3 hours. He's still a good friend and a good mentor. So it was interesting, though. I hadn't really thought about retirement until about 5 years ago, when we had a engineer that was working for us for quite some time decide to move on. He went to work for one of our construction companies. And as I sat and pondered that we needed to hire somebody, it kind of dawned on me that, hey, this person we hired today might be the person, and we should be targeting this hire as the person that may indeed someday take over after I retire. Well, it was interesting because I kind of when I said that, I kind of caught the board off guard, and they said, "Well, are you thinking about retirement?" And I said, "Well, I've always had the goal of
someday retiring." Yeah.
Yeah, So we did a really exhaustive search, and we asked, we talked to a lot of different people. We ended 3 or 4 candidates that actually applied, but I went directly after one person, and we ended up hiring her, and that was Jackie Spohr. It was interesting because she wasn't me, and that's kind of what we were after. I mean, if you think you're going to replace yourself, you're dreaming. You gotta find somebody that, number one, that we thought would have the business sense to do to run an association business, as well as somebody that can engage people, talk to people, and that type of thing. So the goal wasn't to find a carbon copy for me, but somebody that we felt could actually run the business someday. So here we are a couple of years later, and I decided to make it a more formal process. And I actually surprised Jackie at that time. We went to the board of directors meeting. Was almost 2 years ago now. Just two. And I said, it's time. I gave them a plan that basically said, all right, we're gonna promote Jackie to the position of vice president. We're going to start engaging her in all of these different activities. Up to that point, I did 100% of running the business, and we were trying to get her engaged in, knowing contractors, getting out on projects, doing all these different engineering functions. But I said, no, it's time. We need to engage. I'm telling you right now, board, 3 years from now, I am going to be retiring. So here's the plan. The year one will be, introducing Jackie to all the different things that I do as part of running the business. Year two, she's actually going to be running the business. She's going to do all of the bookkeeping. She's going to pay the bills. She's going to, she's going to understand, by the end of that year, what it's like to, file a Form 990 at the end of the year, get our compilation statements done, everything that's needed to be done. And then year three, we get to watch and get into an extra year of comfort. That everything she needs, she'll still have me around for. At the same time, too, at the end of year one, I put together an additional part of the plan was this takes 2 engineers to run this group. And so a year ago, we said we were targeting that we needed to find a second engineer to work. And again, it was interesting because we were looking for somebody that had a lot of the same talents that I have and that Jackie has, but somebody that was more complementary to Jackie than to me, because I'm going to be retiring. So we were very, very happy with the process that we took, and so now we have a new engineer on staff. And as you said, last month, April 18th, I stepped down, and Jackie and I switched places. And my whole goal is the plan as we put it forward was my whole goal in the next year is train, download, document, get all the stuff cleaned up in my office, get all the stuff cleaned up on my computer and organized, and in general, just get as much in front of Jackie and Leslie as I can in the next year. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. I mean, it all was on paper, and we've been working through it.
So one of the things that I really appreciate about the process you described here, Kevin, not only was it a process and it wasn't simply just, hey, we're going to put Jackie in this spot, but it sounds like you spent some time and really looked at your job description, your attributes, what you bring to the table, what Jackie or another player brings to the table. And I think that's really great, because one of the mistakes that many make is they just use that same job description and they're just trying to find the exact same person. And that doesn't take into account how the world has changed, how associations have changed, and maybe new things that a person brings to it. So that's a great balance, if you want to comment on that.
Well, I think there's very definitely some things that Jackie and the business manager that she hired, and now Leslie, our new engineer, they obviously have different talents than I do at 60. They're in their 30s and 40s, and they're more centered on some of these new things like social media and communicating in different ways. It's amazing how they know everybody in the department. They know everybody in the consulting world. So it's their generation. It's their communication, and could put a job position description together for Jackie that was exactly mine. I think we were dreaming, and it was the wrong. In fact, I think Jackie is currently in the process of writing her position description now, as as she takes over and has her vision for what her position is. And then she'll have to, and she has the job of writing the business manager, Samantha, and Leslie's new version of position description. So,
Fantastic.
I mean, that's her job now. It's her staff.
Her staff, yeah.
So
I think the other interesting thing you hit upon is just a trend we see in associations is that, many of the associations in our industry have been housed for so many years and staffed by technical people that grew up in the industry. And while your team all has technical expertise, they're also bringing other skill sets to the table as well. And one of the challenges I have often is when we're brought in to help with a search or when we're doing association management, oftentimes what I'm asked to find is actually a unicorn. It's someone that's the leading technical expert for that field in our industry, as well as marketing skills, promotion skills, management skills, and everything else. And you're a bit of a unicorn, and many other association leaders are unicorns, but it's hard to find those unicorns. It really is.
Well, I've read a few position descriptions over my years and assisted in help people and assisted in hiring other association execs. And I think it's always amazing to look at those position descriptions and say, there's nobody in the world that has all of these qualifications.
Right.
Now, so I always ask, which ones are the most important to you? Which ones do you really have to have? And I think you can look past some shortcomings if you just asked yourself a couple of interesting questions right off the bat. Does this person have the ability to communicate and understand who they work for and have relationships with those people? Number two, can they communicate? And then number three is, do they have a passion for the product and the industry that they're going to work for? That's I've seen some counterparts of mine over this tenure that can honestly say it was a job and it wasn't a passion. So so you can get past a lot with, I'm just so engaged in this industry. I love this industry, and I'm willing to give anything a try to make this successful.
That's a great top 3 list, Kevin. That's really awesome. So as we wrap this up, do you have any tips for others as they start to think through succession planning, what that looks like, who to engage for you? Do you pull your board in? Do you not? What are some tips and things to avoid as well?
Well, from the board standpoint, I know there's been, I know that there was a kind of a mix on my board. Every one of our boards are full of characters to some degree, and I thought it was interesting that they looked at me at one point and said, "Are you thinking about retirement?" and I know that's not sometimes that's a taboo question that you're really not supposed to ask, but I think that's a fair question to ask, and I think to some degree an association exec that isn't giving their board that kind of feedback is maybe being a little selfish. Yeah. And I've worked for this group for 28 years, and I've had a great time. I've had a lot of fun. They've given me everything I needed. They've given me commitments, and to this point, to be selfish and say, don't worry, I'll tell you about it when I'm going. No, they deserve to be part of the process and help make some of the decisions and be informed. After all, it's their association, not mine.
Good point. Really good point. So last question, what is next for you? I know you're still around for a little bit, but any personal goals? I know you've got a beautiful grandkid now that's going to tempt you to get out of the office a little bit more. So what else?
Well, I haven't defined that a lot, and I've done that on purpose. And number one is I don't want to be distracted. I've had a few folks come and talk to me and say, "Hey, what are you thinking about? You're too young. You're only going to be 60. You're too young. You got more years of work." And I say, yeah, talk to me after I'm retired. You know, so I think initially, August 1st next year, I'm going to say thank you. I'm going to disappear for a little bit.
Good for you.
My wife is seeing to that too. She's planning a couple of trips that I don't have a lot of details about yet, but she's taking me away for a while. And I think that's good too, because it disconnects you.
Yep.
You turn off the email, you turn off the phone. The members and anybody that wants to talk to Wisconsin Concrete Pavement Association, they're going to be forced to call Jackie and call Sam and Leslie, and they're going to have to say, hey, Kevin's retired. You got to talk to him. He's not here anymore. But so it's a good excuse just to kind of escape. And then I'm going to take probably the rest of the year off, and then I'll reappear somewhere in early of 2025. But I haven't thought that through yet, and like I said, I'm really stalling that off because I don't want to be distracted. I have an employer right now. I've made a commitment to them that I'm going to work full time until August 1st. As I said, I don't want the distraction. So after I get back from that initial trip after the retirement date, I'll start defining what it is and what I'm going to do from the next chapter in my life. I anticipate I'll work part-time, 10, 20 hours a week. If somebody wants to pull stuff out of this brain and figure it out. But 10 to 20 hours, because that'll give me time to enjoy my family more than I have to. I got a wonderful place up on the lake in northern Wisconsin that I'd like to spend more time at. I'd like to get a little bit more time on the golf course than I have for the last decade. I do love to play golf and find some new adventures. Jenny and I have a list of places we want to travel to. But 10 to 20 hours, enough to keep you guys thinking, keep you in the industry, make a little bit of money, pay for health insurance till I reach 65, whatever. I can give all those lines, but I'm not disappearing. I'm going to work part-time somewhere in the industry for a few more years.
So. Awesome. Well, we've got this as your recruiting video that it's out there, but not to be hired until January 2025. So we're distracted.
All right.
Awesome. So Kevin, thank you so much for sitting down with me today. I appreciate you sharing your perspective on succession planning. It was really great from the outside to watch your process and see it move through, and real excited for your whole team there. So with that, if anyone has any additional insight and opinions on any of this, feel free to log on to aoeteam.com. Thank you.